Hey, welcome back. It's Terry from Everything Homestead. It's been a while since I've had a video out. I had some health issues going on, keeping very busy overall. You can see here I've got my sheep. I got electric fence around here, temporary fence set up for the sheep to feed, and they've pretty much gotten that down to next to nothing, so I got to move them. So I thought I'd show you a little bit today about what it's like day to day around here. Everybody thinks that, well, you don't do anything outside the home, so it must be pretty nice to sit around and do nothing. So I'm just going to show you a couple things. I just walked out here because I'm late in planting parts of my garden, and I'm going to show you what I have found just from the house to here of the things that popped up that I realized, hey, I got to do that today. So let me show you. As I was showing you before, I've got this temporary fence set up for the sheep. I have the ewes in this section. I have the lambs back there with the guardian dogs. Apparently the guardian dogs can go from pen to pen. They just sneak underneath that gate. Puppies are getting bigger, looking really good. This fence works out really nice. It's an electric fence, but these animals, they touch it once and they remember it. They don't come back, so the fence is very effective. You can see the sheep come right up to the very edge grazing, but they don't touch it. Works out really great. But one of the things I remembered as I was coming out to work on my garden is there's no grass left here. I've got to move them to the next pen, so got to take time out to take care of that. So moving on from that, I come around over here, come out to my garden. This is the best crop of weeds I've grown in a long time, but this is where I'm supposed to be tilling. I'm way behind, shouldn't have gotten to this point, but I'm going to till all this up. And that's what I intended to do when I came out. When I came out, I also noticed, oh, look at my raspberries. There's weeds all over the place in here. I'm supposed to be able to walk down between these two rows. So I thought I better fix that too. But my lawnmower won't start. And no, it's not out of gas. I checked that. So that means I gotta tear apart the carburetor, take the gas tank off, clean it all out, see what's going on, see what's plugging it up, try to fix that. I have to do that before I can mow the tall grass and the weeds. As I was walking over to the area that I want to till, I noticed strawberries looking really good this time of year, and I gotta pick strawberries, so that's something I gotta do. I gotta come out and pick another bucket full of strawberries before they go bad. Really tasty this year. I'm not gonna let them go to waste. Gotta do that. Come away from the strawberries and I see the chickens are nervously pacing back and forth. And that only means one thing. So I come around to the side over here, and I see they tipped their water jug over. There's two water jugs, and they are both dry, so they are out of water. So I gotta fill them up with water to make the chickens happy. I think they spill more than they drink, but they both feel it fast enough. So I gotta do that before I till the garden. Sometimes you just have to say the heck with everything and just put everything aside and do what you started out to do. Get that done first. That's what I started out to do to begin with. So I'm just gonna go in here and get my tiller, do what I'm supposed to do, get that done first, and move on from there. So I come into the mess of the shop that I have. Here's my no good mower that I gotta fix before I can do anything. Here's my garden tiller. Let's just get that done. Oh. But what do I find here? The tire went flat and fell off the rim. So I gotta fix that before I can till the garden. So, yep, I just sit on my butt. I don't work outside the home. I'm not doing anything in particular. I'm just sitting around and watching TV all the time. So that's just the way it goes. So the moral of the story is, don't buy junk. Get stuff that's gonna work and you don't have to repair it all the time. It's taken me 30 years to figure that out. I'm starting to come around. These are a few of the things that you're gonna have to deal with if you plan on moving out to the country and being a little self-reliant with stuff. But this is the way it goes. The biggest thing is knowing how to fix it, how to get by, how to get through it. This isn't a problem, it's just a matter of time. I'll get it fixed. I'll show you what the garden looks like in just a little bit once I get everything lined up and get the soil turned over. See you in a bit. Okay, in all fairness, I have been complaining just a little bit so far in this video, but I just had to take a moment to tell you about these tillers. If you ever are in the market to go find one, some of the things to look for, some of the things to pay attention to. One of the things to look for is a rear tine tiller is way nicer than a front tine tiller. It just it balances out nicer. The front tine tillers, if you hit some hard soil, a few rocks or something, those tines will kick in, they'll pop up, and the thing will run on top of the ground, and you'll get a heck of a workout. You'll see yourself just running around the garden with the tiller not doing anything. The rear tine, it's a much heavier machine. It's got a counterbalance weight on the front. It's got, most often it should have drive gears. These are actually tires that drive forward and reverse. Most front tine tillers don't have that. They only move forward or reverse from the action of the tines moving. So these are a lot more of a heavy machine. It sits still while letting the tines do its work. Just the rear tine is a far superior way to till your garden if you're going to buy one. Now, the downside is these things cost at least twice as much, if not 3 times as much, if you go to buy one new at the store. But here's the thing that I'd like to tell you about with these things is that you can get these things at a garage sale, at an estate sale, an auction, whatever, much cheaper, even if they're used. Then here's the reason why I wouldn't hesitate to do that versus buying a new. And I know I said don't buy junk, but I bought this unit for $80 at an auction. The only thing that was wrong with it at the time was that this tire was flat. Shocker. I still haven't quite found a leak in it yet. I think it's a bad seal on the rim. It's flying my way. I can buy a brand new tire for 40 bucks. I'm too much of a cheapskate to do that, so I can fix this pretty inexpensively. A new unit like this it can be way over $1,000 for something similar to this brand new. For 80 bucks a brand new tire, if I chose to do that, way better. The other thing you consider is that these motors on here are built to last a long time. When you think about how often a tiller gets used in its lifetime, for me, I'll use it to break ground for making my garden. I might go up and down the rows a few times. Once the plants get growing up and they kind of cover up the rows, I can't get in there as easily with this machine, and I could just as easily use a hoe or some other small hand tool to weed it, because usually once you get on top of the weed situation, it's not too bad to weed your garden. You don't need a big machine like this all the time. So when you think about the use, my machine, and I have a decent sized garden, I probably use it a total of maybe 2 hours a year if you add up the time, and that's at the max. So you think about 2 hours a year. I mean, if you own this thing for 20 years, you put 40 hours of use on it, this machine has a ton of life left in it. As long as you change the oil once in a while, this thing will go forever. So this machine here right now, I've only owned it probably for 5-6 years, but I looked at the serial number and the model and so on, and this machine is about 30 years old, and it runs perfectly fine. The compression is perfect on this thing because these motors don't get the use like say a lawnmower would get. The lawnmowers get used once a week, let's say, for an hour or two each use. A lawnmower motor will wear out after 30 years. It just won't be in existence anymore. So if you see a machine that's 20 years old, 30 years old, and so on, it's probably in good shape. You might have to rebuild the carburetor or pay someone to do it for you if you don't know how. You probably have to replace a belt once in a while, but that's peanuts compared to the cost of a new one. I had a tiller years ago that was probably 60 years old, and that finally the motor went out on that after 60 years of life. And so you got to remember, these motors don't wear out that fast, especially when they're not used. Just keep that in mind. Other than that, don't buy junk.